I'm always doing this countdown before we go live. I apologize, everybody. How's it going? What's up, Nick? How's your day?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited. I'm freaking pumped, dude. We've had a pretty good week. Guys, if you don't know, we work for Pace, and actually inside of our deal flow chart, Pace locked up 10 deals by himself. What was that, Tuesday or Wednesday? And that just freaking gets me amped up. I love working with everybody here and just getting excited about real estate. So I like that I get to talk to you guys and learn from the best in the biz. It's just really fun. So I have a good time here. But yeah, so great. We got Josh in here. Where's everybody from? We've got a few viewers on here. What cities is everybody from here? I would love to know where we're having our viewers coming in from. There's some people coming in from Facebook. Those of you coming in from Facebook, make sure you click on that StreamYard link so we can see your name. We're going to let everybody kind of funnel into this live before we get started. But I am Caroline, and this is to my other side over here, Nick. So,
Nick Newling. Nice to meet everybody if you guys are tuning in for the first time.
Nick, I like the camera angle, and you got the map behind you. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Atlanta user, make sure you hit that StreamYard link so we can see your name. Want to give you a shout out for sure. All right, guys. So while we're letting everybody get funneled in here, just want to kind of lay down what we're going to do today. Really, we're going to be giving away free leads at the very end that we get from BatchLeads.io. We're going to go through and just kind of do a Q&A, answer questions for you. I'm going to talk a little bit about Dispo. I do the Dispo on our team. Nick is in charge of locking up deals for me to sell. Nick is in charge of our JV department, and we work together on Dispo, so we're pretty hand in hand. You could say that we're almost a married couple. And our off time, we like to go play golf and hike. So if you guys are hikers or golfers, we're always down to meet up with people. One thing I do want to talk about, I'm going to mention it a few times today. Next Wednesday, March 10th, from 4 to 6 p.m., we are going to be doing a meetup at an Airbnb that Pace and Cody will have going live probably pretty soon here. So if you guys have been going to the Sunday service, you will see that Noah Hoffman was on there, I think maybe 2 weeks ago with Cody talking about Airbnb. So we can talk all about that and how it nets $3,000 to them. So if you guys have not been getting into the Airbnb biz, you should definitely check out those Sunday services. And then on Wednesday, we'd be super excited to meet you guys. We'll talk about how you can get your first deal done. We'll talk about how to furnish an Airbnb, how we'll deal underwrite on that. And we're really just going to cover all things Airbnb and what our crew does to get everything done. So Anna will be there. You guys should definitely come down. Awesome. Sweet. Chris McIntosh is here live. Awesome. Nice to see you, dude. But yeah, so really what I'd like to get started with is, Nick, why don't you just kind of explain what you do in the JV side and maybe kind of tell us, you're a closer. So kind of tell us what it's like to be a closer, how you kind of close deals, and just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been on Pace's team for a little bit over a year. What I do in the joint venture department is really either, reach out to wholesalers reach out to me, other investors, and I help them underwrite their deals. I help them close their deals with sellers, and then I pass it off to Caroline and we help dispo them. So really we're an extension of everybody else's business. For people who are brand new to the business, we help them close deals and, like I said, help them dispo deals. So yeah, that's what I do. I provide, resources and value to other investors and people who are getting started. And then as far as the clean aspect of it, I have a lot of practice. So that's just what it is. It's just repetition, right? Taking constructive criticism of people who are actually closing deals and just implementing it. So it's been probably about 3 years that I've been in real estate. So a lot of reps.
Awesome. And Nick, there's one thing that I really want to highlight. You've been in real estate for a while, and we talked about this. And we were kind of brainstorming what we can do to add value for everybody. And I was talking about getting your first deal done. Can you kind of just go into how long it took you to get your first deal done and why it took you so long to get that first deal done?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a lot of integrator tendencies. So you always hear Pace and Cody talk about the rocket fuel integrator visionary type of thing. I'm somewhat of a good mix of an integrator and a visionary, but when I first got started in this business, I spent probably close to a year just learning about the business. I thought that I needed an answer to every single thing. I was concerned about the systems, and I thought if I systemized the business before I actually started the business, that I'd be way more efficient, and that's not the way it actually works. So yeah, I spent a long time just really studying, learning, ton of masterminds, ton of courses, that kind of thing. And I was just in this analysis paralysis phase. So it took me 8 months to actually get my first deal like sold. I would say it probably took me about 12 months to get contracts. I had, a bunch of contracts, but nothing was selling. So yeah, it took me 18 months before I made my first dollar in real estate. And now knowing what I know, I realized that I could have shortened the curve, and I could have probably got my first deal in 3 months knowing what I know now. And that's part of what we're teaching you guys, what we're trying to help you guys with. And having a resource like myself and Caroline, we can help you guys get that first deal in a matter of, a couple of weeks if you guys are putting in the work.
Sorry, I actually just had to let Pace in the office. He's here with Corbin. So guys, if you haven't shared this yet, Pace is in here with Corbin. Hi, Corbin. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, Corbin.
Guys?
Huh?
How long are you going to be on?
We just started, so about an hour.
Cool. Okay.
All right. So anyways, guys, surprise visit from Pace. But what I wanted to say, if you guys have not shared this with everybody, if you think this is beneficial, make sure you guys are sharing this link so we can get some more people in here and have it over in Nick's office saying hi to him. Guys, we want you to, not only do we want to provide value, we want to make sure that we're helping everybody. So this is really a big go-giver mentality here. But let's see. Awesome. So we have a great question from Suhib, I believe. I think we've talked to you before. What should you expect when you're trying to get your first deals? What hurdles would one need to overcome to be successful, really? And I got up. I muted myself. I was getting up because I wanted to pull over my little, I need to make a nicer sheet, but I wanted to pull this up for everybody. The first thing, Nick was talking about, he wasn't consistent, but I think you guys are doing the right thing here. You're taking action. You're on YouTube Live with us. You guys are obviously, I know we have a lot of people in here from the Pace Morby page. We have a lot of people in here from the Creative Financing with Pace Morby page. Take action. And it can be imperfect action. It doesn't have to be perfect action, Perfection is actually, you're just procrastinating. If you think you're going to be a perfectionist, you're getting in the way of yourself and you're procrastinating. So just go out and take massive imperfect action. Along with that action, you should be consistent with your action taking. So that was the thing that Nick was talking about. He just was not consistent with his work and closing those deals. That's why it took him so long to close that first deal. The next thing you should do is make mistakes. So like I said, take imperfect action. Go make mistakes. When you fail, you're going to learn from those failures faster than you will winning's awesome, but when you make mistakes, you'll learn from those quicker. And the last thing is you should have a community. And that's, these are things that I've actually learned from Pace I'm a sub-2 student myself. And that's what I actually love about our sub-2 community is just being able to talk with like-minded individuals. Last night, I was just telling Nick, we should get into more accountability calls. I was in an accountability Zoom for the Northeast people, and we were just talking about how Marlon actually was asking me, he's like, Caroline, how much do you like being out in Arizona? And I love being out here in Arizona. I mean, I'm 10 feet away from Nick, we have offices right next to each other, but we get to talk about real estate all the time. Like I got into real estate in June of 2020. I started wholesaling then, and my life has completely changed. It gets me excited. I have fun, and being able to talk to like-minded individuals. Not only do we talk about real estate, Nick and I are talking about, we might be doing a 75 hard challenge. We probably will announce later. Just like I'm surrounded by people that are like-minded. We want to have generational wealth. We want to be able to vacation when we want. Like earlier today in the mentorship, Pace had Jory Alston come on, who's working from Puerto Rico and doing deals in Michigan. Like there are just so many things that are awesome. And the community that we have and being able to talk with like-minded people that want to excel is just so awesome to me. And I think that's a great thing that we have in the Creative Financing page with Pace. So if you guys aren't a sub-2 student, that's fine. I just like to talk about it because I love it so much. And, Nick and I got to help out with the mastermind, and it was cool having all the students come out here and just seeing where everybody's at in their real estate investing career. So it was really cool. But I know I went off on a tangent there, but I would just say, find something to be successful with your first deal. Focus on one thing at a time. Focus on one thing and get it down. So if you guys are focusing on wholesaling, focus on building rapport with your sellers. So if you really need to build rapport, make sure you're actively listening. Focus on that rapport building. And when you need help, come on here and tell us about it. But Nick, what would you say? Because I know I can get on a soapbox and talk for a minute. What would be the best way to really be successful and overcome those hurdles?
So, I mean, you have to look at it from a perspective of, do I have time or do I have money? right? It always comes down to those two things. For me, when I first got started, I had a lot of time and I had some money. So I wanted to try every single marketing strategy out there. So when I talked about how long it took me to actually, get my first dollar in real estate, it was because I was cold calling here and there. Like I'd spend a day cold calling, and then I'd drive for dollars, and then I'd text blast them, and then I'd send RVMs. And it was just this constant cycle, and I would get lost. Like I didn't know what list was RVM, what list was text, what list was cold call. So it was just all over the place. I would say, if you're looking at it from a time perspective or a money perspective, if you have the money but don't have the time, then invest in a virtual assistant, right? Pull data, using VA Hub or VAs are super consistent. So you pull data, you have virtual assistants call them, they generate leads, and then you have either yourself or an acquisition manager call and close those leads. But if you have a lot of time and not too much money, then I would go driving for dollars. Right, you go out driving for dollars using batch driven, and then from there you can text the list, you can cold call the list, you can do everything with that list, and it's a really, really good list. And that's how I would get started, just consistently driving for dollars and targeting those leads over and over and over and over again. And I guarantee it, if you're doing 50 plus houses per day, you're going to get a deal in a matter of months. If you're taking consistent action, you'll get a deal for sure.
100%. And just to piggyback off of that, guys, not only can you go and actually drive for dollars, you can virtually drive for dollars, and you can do that on batch driven. So say you're at home with your kids because of COVID and you're helping with their homework, you can pull it up and virtually drive for dollars on your computer. A great hack, and Matt Beard goes over this. You can do this. Gosh, I just saw Pace walk by, it got me distracted. You can do this when from Google Earth, but they were just, I think Bryce and Matt were just live at 10:30. So every Friday before we go live, Matt Beard and Bryce are on here. And every day, actually, I believe on the Batch Driven app, Bryce goes live at 4:30 during the week. So you guys can ask him questions. So if you guys are not following that Batch Driven app, that's what it's called, Batch Driven app on Instagram, you definitely should, just to see what Bryce is doing. He got his first deal and brought it to Pace and Cody and sold it to them for driving for dollars. But yeah, what Nick is saying, focus on one thing and get it done. So virtually drive for dollars when you're at home or, in between things. If you're Netflix and chilling, pull up, batch driven and drive for dollars on there. I think it'd be super helpful. But I saw, a great note here from Sahib, just said, failure is a big key for me. I never lose when I fail. I only win. The learning process from failing is beautiful. And that's 100% right, guys. Fail forward. Just go take action and fail forward when in that aspect. So I think that's really, really beneficial. I want to get some more questions from you guys. We want to give out 1,000 records. So make sure you're asking questions here so we can throw you up here. We'd love to pull a list for you guys. We want to help out where we can. Let's see what Liz is saying. I know we've worked with Liz before. Liz said, have you ever went through a realtor to view a listed property and then successfully negotiated a seller finance deal? All the time, actually. I would say, Nick, I'm going to let you dig into that just because I've learned a lot of this from you, but we have a timeline when we go through properties that are on the MLS.
Yeah, I would say if a property is sitting on the MLS, maybe you have to look at what the average days on market in the neighborhood is. And if that property is significantly over that average days on market, like let's say the average days on market is 60 days and this property's been on the market for 90 days. Well, there's something wrong, right? Either the property is not priced appropriately, there's something that's in the way, right? So we would go after those kind of properties if it's an MLS deal. Typically it's a process, right? Because you have to educate the seller on why they should, basically convince their client or bring an offer to their client and that, selling on seller finance. So it's always a challenge. We don't necessarily target those. We would much rather work a property that's an expired listing. But yeah, I mean, occasionally we have negotiated deals like that are listed with the realtor. So just keeping in mind that you want to go for properties that are just sitting on the market for a while.
100%. Great answer there. And I hope that was beneficial to you, Liz. All right. So Toma Langi said, are there any extra steps in wholesaling a sub 2? So Nick, you want to cover that a little bit here?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily. So you can just basically take the terms and package it up. So you have to have a really good understanding of subject to, you have to have all the correct documentation in place. And in addition to that, you need to make sure that it's actually a good deal that an investor is going to pick up, right? The cash flow has to be there. has to be a reasonable entry fee to get into the deal. But yeah, you basically just sell it as a normal assignment, and make sure that this investor understands exactly what they're getting into. Because subject to a lot, it's been around for a long time, but so many people still aren't familiar with it. So just make sure that you're educating them and you just sign it as a normal deal.
Awesome. And guys, I'm going to share right now the link to join us on StreamYard. We'd love to pull you up here with us so we can kind of go over a little more in detail your questions you guys have. But awesome. Yeah, Zachary Hamilton using Batch Driven right now while I was driving and listening to you two driving around these Bodunk cities. There you go. Find some deals over there, Zach. All right. So AH said, how do you handle sellers that get mad for you following up? So I would actually say, like, how are you following up? Have you set the expectation that you will follow up? Anytime I end a call with the seller, I try and set that. If they're motivated to sell, remember, guys, we want to have quality conversations with motivated sellers. We're not in the business to like trick somebody to sell their house. We're out here trying to be problem solvers. But I would, at the end of each call, I'd say, for example, hey, Nick, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. With your other decision maker, your wife, can we follow up maybe on Tuesday around 2:00? Is that a good time for me to reach back out to you guys? No, that's not a good time. Okay, well, what's a good time for me to reach out? Maybe Wednesday or Thursday? Just kind of set that expectation that you're going to follow up with them. And then each follow-up, you kind of want to dig a little bit deeper onto how you can be a problem solver. I mean, I'm going to go in, I say this a lot, and I'm going to bring it up here now. Does everybody here, can I get some comments in the chat? Do you guys all know what the 10-80-10 rule is? So, great. Okay. So the 10-80-10 rule, 10% of the people you talk to on the first go around, they're ready to go immediately. They're ready to buy, they're ready to sell their property. 80% of the leads you're talking to are going to need 13 or more touches. So you're going to need to follow up with them. You're going to need to talk to them 13 times before you can close that deal, maybe even more. So the follow-up is key, guys. You need to be following up with your sellers because most people fall off after their third follow-up. And staying organized and having a CRM or some way to tell you, to remind you, hey, I need to follow up with the seller today. We cut ours in half when we follow up with everybody. So if we say, hey, we'll follow up with you in a month, we'll follow up with them in 2 weeks. So that 80% is really important. Follow-up is key. And the last 10% is people that are not motivated at all. They're tire kickers, dead in the water. So they don't want to sell. Don't waste your time on them. So that's why you want to go through the 4 pillars: motivation, timeline, condition, and price. Motivation, when you're talking to them, because your time is valuable, guys. Like, you need to be thinking like, this is a money-making activity right now. You're coming in here, you're taking action, you're learning from us, we're giving you guys some information, but you need to figure out, okay, if this person isn't motivated, should I be on the phone with them and listening to them talk about their 12 cats? Probably not. I should go move on to somebody who is motivated to sell, that I can get a deal done or problem solve with them. So that's why the 4 pillars are so important, but know that 10-80-10 rule. Follow-up is huge. You need to follow up. You need to be able to build that rapport, show your credibility, and actually be a problem solver. We're in the business to solve problems. So that's a really, really important thing. But, I'd actually invite you to join us on the live here. So I dropped that link in there. If you guys click on this link, you can come up here live with us, and we can go into a little more detail if you have other questions on that. So great question, by the way. Did you have anything to add there, Nick? Is there anything that you would do if a seller is getting annoyed with the follow-up?
No, I mean, I think you touched on it very, very well. Yeah, just set an expectation, right? So what I do in the beginning of every one of my phone calls is I set an expectation. Hey, here's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to ask questions. Is that okay with you? I get commitment from them. And at the end of the phone call, I do the same thing. I say, hey, just so you know what to expect, right? I set the standard and I say, hey, I'm going to follow up with you. When's the best time to follow up with you? And then, like Caroline said, we cut that time in half and just make sure there's clarity there, right? If a seller is getting upset because you're following up with them, chances are they're probably not going to sell to you. That's one thing. But the other thing is like understand what they're going through, right? Is that they're getting calls from a ton of people wanting to buy their house. So just kind of bear with them. Usually if you're talking to a seller and they're irritable, it's because they have a lot of things going on. So just be
Great question, guys. So Value Vegan is back. I think it's Valerie. To get a developer as a buyer for a piece of land, what are the top questions to ask when qualifying them? That's a great question, Valerie. I think it's Valerie, but I'll just go by Value Vegan. Great question. So I would kind of go into, we have somebody that's coming live, so I'll pull you up here in a moment. What are some questions, the top questions to ask when qualifying them? Well, first of all, you want to know what other deals they've done. Just make sure they've actually done deals before, and maybe even ask for the property address to see that they have done those. Ask them, what is their ROI, their return on investment that they're looking for. Really ask them questions like, do they use their own money or are they borrowing cash when they buy properties? Just a few kind of identifying things to see if they seriously are a buyer and not just a wholesaler trying to wholesale your deal. But I actually have a list that I'm making up for you guys. We might cover it next week and we can dig into that a little bit more. Nick, is there anything else that you would say, to make sure that you're qualifying a developer the right way?
Yeah, I would just throw in there, you want to ask them if they expect to have properties that are set up with permits and as well as utilities too. Like some developers, they won't go through the process of getting permits and setting up utilities and stuff like that. So you just want to ask them if that's a requirement.
Awesome. All right. Well, now we have Jaden on here. So let's pull Jaden up here live with us. Jaden, you are now live with us on YouTube. How's it going, man?
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. What's going on, dude?
Oh, not much, man. Not much, Caroline. How you been?
I'm good. How can we help you today?
I had a quick question on a cash out refi. Whenever I pitched that to a client, I'm sorry, I won't take much of your time. Whenever I pitched that to a potential seller, what's kind of the inner workings of that? Because that's kind of what I got going on right now with a potential seller. Great question. I'm actually going to revert that over to Nick. So Nick, what would you say here?
Yeah, that's a great question. So are they doing like a cash out where they pull out all of their equity and you're going to take the new loan over subject to?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So typically it's a process, right? If you're working with lenders already and you can refer them a lender, that would help expedite the process. But of course, because they're going to do a cash out refi, there's going to be new terms in place, likely with a new lender. So you're going to have them go through that process first. And then once they're approved and they get everything in place, then you can structure a subject to. So that's something that they have to go and structure the terms on their own. And then you can take over the new loan subject to. We actually have a lender here in Arizona. I don't know where this deal's at, but we have a lender in Arizona that would do 90% of the equity on the cash out refi. So that's another thing too that's important is different lenders would do a certain percentage, 80%, 70%, some even 90% of their equity. So just make sure the seller knows, that they're going to get a portion, but it depends on the lender.
Okay. Yeah. My seller, she wants a substantial amount of money for what she's got. So I'm trying to find options for her. So I'm like, let me cash out refi. Yeah. Okay.
I love that. No, that's a great idea. That's a lot of things that people don't really know about that method. We do that all the time. It's either they trying to structure like a hybrid deal where they're paying them under equity, but sometimes that doesn't work. So I think right now in this economy with mortgage rates being so low, I think a cash out refi is a great option because you're going to get a better deal on the back end. You're going to get a lower interest rate, lower PITI, and you don't have to come with such a big down payment. It might be maybe 20% on the equity or 10% on the equity that you can either do as a down payment or you can structure it in installments as well.
Okay, perfect. So just writing that down.
100%.
Okay. That's really the only question I had, guys. Love what you guys are doing. You guys are great. Caroline, I'm sorry I haven't been able to get there in the mornings, but I love your daily dial. Keep doing what you guys are doing. You guys are awesome.
No problem. Thanks, Jaden. Hey, we'll see you at the next meetup, right?
Yes, ma'am. I'll be there.
All right. See you, dude.
Thanks, Jaden.
Great question. I hope that was beneficial to everybody. Now, I have a great question here, Nick, because we were just kind of talking about how to get started and doing a deal. Anton just threw this in the chat here. If my budget is $200, should I target on-market or off-market leads? How would you get started if you have $200?
Yeah, great question. I would literally use that money for batch. And I know I talked about that earlier. You either have time or you have money. Sometimes you have both, right? But if you have more time than you have money, then I would do something like batch where you can drive virtually. You can skip trace it within the app. That $200 is going to go a pretty long way, using something like that. But I would target off-market properties because that's going to be the closest thing to money. You can target on-market properties, maybe like for sale by owners. I wouldn't spend a lot of time doing that either. But properties that are listed on the MLS, they're likely going to want retail. And if you're just now getting started, here's the thing, guys. Here's the tip and trick, because I know we teach a lot of creative financing. You're just now getting started, focus on wholesale, right? In our business, even though we do a lot of creative financing, we always go for the wholesale deals first. And you're more likely to get a wholesale deal if you're going off market.
Great response. Yeah, guys, I mean, don't spend money on like mailers, don't spend money on all those other things. Focus, try and be as niche as you can and just be really consistent. If I can say anything, that's been the biggest, like, that's a question I asked Cody and Pace. Like the first time that I got to come out here and I got hired on, I went to a meetup. I was asking Cody, you know, what's the number one question you get asked? And like, what would you say to new people? Consistency. I have ADHD and I struggle with like remembering things sometimes. As you can see, sometimes I take a second to pause and remember what I'm talking about. But like the biggest thing I have around me is I have this list: that action, consistency, mistakes, and community. I really focus on all of them. I want to, like, I talk with Nick. I talk about like what I'm struggling, what I'm doing well in, where I need help. And we do the same thing. We work together because we're a department. But the action taking is so huge, and you need to be consistent with that action taking. So hold yourself accountable. That's why we're talking about doing a 75 hard challenge. We just want to do something to make ourselves better. So write out your goals, write out, you know, your reason why, and have that somewhere where you will see it every day. So start with that budget, stay within your budget, and be consistent. Have your job that you're working all the time, and then in the evenings, maybe on your lunch break, you can drive for dollars on your lunch break if you want to just get out of there, or walk for dollars. You guys can walk in your neighborhood. I walk my dog all the time, and I look for distressed houses. Just be really consistent in what you're doing, and you will be taken care of. Start taking notes, attend Sunday service, go to the wholesale hotline on Mondays. I mean, there's a bunch of free stuff that we're having going on within our little community from Pace. So find what you can, pull from each of those, what's going to be beneficial to you. And we're just going to we're going to continue preaching on driving for dollars, because that's how we kind of got started. So driving for dollars is a very inexpensive way to find leads, and that's going to be your most exclusive list. Nobody else will have the exact same driving for dollars list as you. So that was a great question. I just wanted to touch on that. All right, so here we go. William James said, so the best way to find willing seller or leads is batch driving for dollars in VA Hub. Well, so we like to push. So obviously VA Hub is where we get our VA from. Batch leads is where we skip trace our leads, and then batch driven is where we keep track of all of ours. So if you guys have not been on Bryce's batch driven at 4:30, you guys should definitely get on there. He kind of talks about how you can keep track of all your leads. So when you're driving, you can put a pin on it. You can say, this one's like, it looks like it's hot, like I need to approach them. It's just a nice way to stay organized. Like I said, I was very unorganized on my own before. I think that's huge. I would say the best, I mean, like Nick, what would you say? What is the best way to find like motivated sellers?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're targeting motivated sellers, you know, obviously pre-foreclosure is still a really good list to go after. But the thing is, like, everybody is going after the same list. So how are you going to get to the money faster? Is you got to get a list that's more niche. Well, you can definitely pull data that's more niche, like water shutoff list and certain liens and certain types of things where, you know, you can go after those lists. But I think, in my opinion, driving for dollars is the best way to do it, because these are houses that are physically distressed. And it may be somebody that has a vacant house, and you can obviously tell when a house is vacant, but just physically distressed houses, right? You can't pull a list of physically distressed houses, but you can drive in a neighborhood, because most people don't want to put in the time. Most people don't want to sit in their car or sit behind a computer and just drive for dollars. They'd much rather pull a list. So a lot of these houses just sit there, right? And we know a ton of people who have done deals driving for dollars. Bryce Herrera is a great example. He did it for, I think, 8 weeks, and he got his first deal and made $10,000 on a deal, just driving by houses. That's it. So yeah, in my opinion, driving for dollars, bar none.
Bar none. And I mean, it's just the way to go. I think it's very beneficial. So great questions. But if you guys do have more than $200 and you can pull a list, get a VA from VA Hub. And if you are working that 9 to 5, have them call those leads. Get them to qualify your leads so you can talk to them. The national average is 1 out of every 50 leads are closed. So you need your VA to be plugging you with leads so you can talk to them and close those leads. I mean, that's super beneficial. And like I said, Nick and I share a VA, and our VA is qualifying buyers for us. He's pulling lists for us. He's talking to our sellers. He's talking to realtors. I mean, we've taught our VA from VA Hub how to do all of these things, and it's all automation. So if you guys haven't been on Pace's Instagram page, you should go to his Instagram page and check out the conveyor belt. That is very important, and having the right pieces in place. Our VA is helping us automate so we can be on this live right now. Our VA is working for us while we're on a live, which is amazing. So I can't say enough things about VAs. VAs are the way to go. All right, let's see. Do we have any good questions? All right, here we go. How do I structure a seller finance offer? Is there a copy of a seller finance purchase and sale agreement available? I don't think that we have one. I know that we have a wholesale contract. I do not believe that Pace has a, well, yeah. But I don't think we structure it seller finance, correct, Nick? That's an addendum you put on there?
Yeah, so it's, I believe it's the same contract that we use. We just have additional addendums and disclosures in it. But yeah, for the most part, we just structure it, basically we indicate that it is an installment sale or the seller carryback type of sale. And then we just put the terms in the additional terms.
Yeah,
so it's not really anything specific.
Yeah, so I'm gonna drop, I will add this in here for you guys. If you go to, I think it's pacemorby.com, you can get, there it is, boom. Free contracts at pacemorby.com. So you can get our contract that we actually use, and this is from Pace's lawyers, and you just have to get that addendum for a seller finance offer. I don't know if he has that on his YouTube channel anywhere, but it's just an addendum that you would add on there. So yeah, I would definitely check that out, Liz. Great question. Okay, great. So here's another one from Suheeb. How should you go about a buyer using bank financing? Example, FHA to buy a house. How should you go about a buyer using bank financing? So I guess I don't really understand the question unless I'm getting this wrong. Nick, what do you think about this question?
Bank financing. So I think they're probably talking about traditional loans. And I guess that would just, how do you go about a buyer?
That is going to get, you're going to have to get an appraiser in there. You're going to make sure that it's all working well. So I don't know if you could really sell that as a wholesale deal. And then creatively, that wouldn't be a creative option because you're no longer using like the seller finance or anything like that, anything creative. So,
if it's something on the market, then obviously, if you list it on the market with a realtor, just go traditionally, but you can't assign a house to a lender using traditional funding. I'm sure there's probably some one-off lenders that would allow that, but 9 times out of 10, they won't pay an assign.
Great question. Let me pull this up. Facebook user, I see you said, how can we access StreamYard? Just there in the link in the description, click on that right there, and that'll let us see your name and you can get on there. Great. So Anna wants to go back into the cash out refi. Can you guys talk a little bit more about this? Was not aware you could do a cash out refi sub too. So Nick, I'm gonna let you take that away while I help get everybody into StreamYard.
Yeah, absolutely. So a cash out refi is typically when we use it, it's when a seller has a good amount of equity and they're willing to do subject to. So there's a couple ways to do it. And to backtrack, there's another way that you can structure a deal like that. And it's basically a combination of a subject to deal and a subject to deal and a seller finance deal. So we call that a hybrid, right? Because it's both deals where you're taking over their mortgage subject to, and you're creating a separate note where you're paying them on their equity and installments. So that's one way. But for example, let's say their PITI on their subject to on their mortgage is $1,500, and it rents out for $2,000, and they have $100,000 in equity. Well, you can't really structure that $100,000 in equity that would make sense for them unless they're okay with like $100, $200 payments on the equity. So what we do is we'll talk to them about a cash out refinance, where they would basically take all their equity and their property, they'll pull it out, and they'll get a new loan. So they're pulling out all of their equity on a cash out refinance. The benefit of that as well for them is, keep in mind, yes, they're pulling out a lump sum of cash, but that cash is technically not a gain because all they did was create more debt, right? So that's a big benefit, is if they have a lot of equity, they're not going to get hit as hard with taxes because they're just pulling out more debt. So that's a really good way to put it. And you just basically come in once they're approved and they get their refinance, you just come in and take over the new loan subject to.
Great question. And I'm actually pulling up, guys, I have a Dispo checklist for you guys that we have made. If you guys are on Facebook and in the description, it should say follow along with us on our Dispo checklist. I'm trying to pull it up so everybody can see it. This is kind of how I deal with close or how we keep track of where we're at on our deals. So I'm going to share my screen so everybody can see it here. Share screen, just so you guys can see it. So here we go. There it is, popped up. Sweet. So this is our Dispo checklist, guys, because I know I wanted to tell you guys I covered Dispo, Nick does JV, and I just saw that was in our announcements there. So first thing, does everybody know what disposition is? So what we do with Dispo, we get a property under contract. So if we're going to keep it, first things first, obviously we're going to open up escrow. That's going to be number one. So we're going to open up escrow. You want to work with a wholesale friendly title company or a creative financing friendly title company as well. You want to get that contract in EMD. EMD stands for earnest money deposit. So you want to have that in so you have equity in the house and along with your contract. And let's see, the next thing we'd want to do is create a property profile. So with that, you're going to want to put down, some photos of your property. You're going to want to have that address on there, ARV, which stands for after repair value. You can even include some comps so your buyers can see that quickly. We do an estimated repair cost on here, pictures of the property. So we drop a link on there so they can have access to a bunch of photos of the property. Any of the special features, maybe there's a pool, maybe, I don't know, solar panels on the roof, things like that. The benefits of it, the price, EMD, we like to get around $3,000 to $5,000 as the earnest money deposit. How long the inspection period is and when the open house will be so they can view that property. So we can go into this a little bit more if this is helpful for you guys if you did not know about these Dispo checklists that we use. The next thing that we do is cash buyers. We need a cash buyer for our property. So if you don't have a list, if you have a list, and how to build a list. So first one, if you don't have a list, what we do, this is where we find cash buyers, and we'll talk about it at the end here when we go to BatchLeads. Find recent and local investors in the area. So we'll pull up an area, we'll pull up a zip code, and we'll look for properties that were purchased for cash. And I'll have Nick pull up BatchLeads here after I'm done and kind of go through that with you guys just so you can see. But we actually have taught our VA, Harold, how to pull this up and how to skip trace buyers and talk to them. So Harold is actually doing this all for us. We taught our VA to do that. If you have an existing list, reach out to your VIP buyers. So I am the one that does that. I have our VIP buyers in my phone. I actually shoot them a text. I give them first right and refusal to this because we do so many deals with them. They get first eyes on the property. So we let them check it out. If they're not interested in it, we get ready. Actually, we give them a certain amount of time. It's about 2 hours to see if they're interested in it. And then after that 2 hours, we blast it out through MailChimp. So we get our property ready and we send that out to our cash buyer database, which is going to be much larger than our VIP buyers. So our best buyers, we give them first right and refusal. And if they are not interested in it, we go to our larger list, which will have more eyes on the property. And then we also text it out to our buyers. The last thing to do, and like I was saying, we build our list. We go through VA Hub, and our VA builds that list. We find our cash buyers in that zip code. I already kind of explained it. We skip trace it on BatchLeads for our phone numbers. We cold call them. We text. And you guys can do ringless voicemails now. I know they're getting a little, there's some, what would you say? Not litigation. There's some legalities with ringless voicemail. So it's not legal in Florida. So if you guys are looking to do ringless voicemails, it is not legal in Florida. I just kind of want to talk about that. Inspection of the property. So when we let our buyers walk through the property, we try and do it within a 2-hour window. And then we set up a time for all of our cash buyers to go. You do want to create a sense of urgency with your cash buyers, just to let them know, like, hey, we have other buyers that are interested. I try and get around 3 to 4 cash buyers on a property at a time during our time frame. And then the way that we work, it is highest and best offer. And the first one to get to send the EMD to title will get the deal. So first one to deposit EMD to title will win over that title. Yep, there it is at the bottom. So a title wins bidding war. So we are not the bad guys. It was on somebody else. And then the last thing is payday, baby. Close that. Work with title and notary to see if let's see. Yeah, if we need to get a notary there, if our buyer or seller can't move because of COVID. So that's been a big thing. I actually had a deal just close last week in Florida. So we're here in Arizona and they sent out a mobile notary for that. And then it's supposed to say assignment fee, but title will wire that money to you. So if this is beneficial, if you guys would like this checklist, it's in the description below. Just click on that. And it's on pacemorby.com. So I hope that was really beneficial to you guys. I'm going to stop sharing that now and come back over here. So we have about 20 minutes left. I want to get back into your questions, but I really wanted to show you guys that Dispo checklist that we have in place. And then Nick, just remember, we're going to go over how to find cash buyers on BatchLeads here at the end. So let's get into another question here. Let's go. William James. Property is vacant, and is this worth the time? I think it may be a good fix and flip. So I think this is, oh, here we go. Let me go to the first question. So someone approached me about a distressed property for $320,000. The seller wants cash. Property is worth around $600,000 to $900,000, but needs a lot of work. Doesn't really want to do seller financing. Property is vacant. It is worth the time. I think it may be a good fix and flip. So Nick, how would you answer this? So 320.
So distressed property, they're asking 320.
And the ARV is worth 600 to 900. That's a huge range. I mean, you need to get a little more granular on that. And you know what we can do, William? Actually, Nick, we haven't even plugged your phone number in here for today. I'm going to add the do deals with this link. So what I'm going to say is, William, I'm going to drop this link in here. You should send this to Nick. He will actually help you comp this property, and he can go over it with you. We help, guys. We want to help you guys lock up deals, get your first deal done with us. I just dropped the link below. Make sure you guys click on this link here, put in all the information so it goes straight into our CRM. We use Podio, and Nick can actually help you comp that property. So I just dropped this link. Use that Shoreby link. And then, guys, right now, this is Nick's iPhone. You can text Nick at this number, 480-819-9295. Shoot him a text, and we can actually help you comp this. We use BatchLeads to comp everything. That's just $300,000. That is a huge range. You want to really know your numbers before you take something down like this. So I'd get even more granular. But what I'd also say, somebody from the Dispo side, reach out to your cash buyers in the area and just say, hey, for this property on 123 Main Street, what would you pay for it? You know, and then they can tell you, excuse me, guys, they can tell you, well, you know, ARV is actually, you know, $950,000. How much work does it need? Well, you know, I think it needs about $100,000 worth of work. Okay, well, I would buy it around maybe $500,000. I don't know. It all varies. So it just depends. But having those relationships with your cash buyers is super critical. Like knowing what they like, building your buyer profile, knowing their buy box is going to help you move your properties a lot faster. So I would say know your buyers and what they're looking for so you can move the property quickly. And I think it'd be the same way with JV partners, right, Nick?
Yeah, absolutely.
The relationships you have with them will really help you get more deals in, and you can network and work together. So great question, William. Okay, great. Let's see here. Do we have a seller finance call script? That is a great question. And, you know, we're actually working on something pretty special. Nick might be coming out here soon. There is no seller finance script, but if you pay attention and if you guys keep sharing this, we can do a little, maybe eventually call some sellers and help you guys out. But I'm going to ruin your name, and I'm sorry. Arelis Santa Maria, I would say go on to Pace. So we're on Pace's YouTube channel as well. Look up his 16-hour live. Watch his 16-hour live, and I would say study it. Write down what you hear. Listen to how he's working it. But really, go out there and take massive imperfect action. I think that's the best thing that you can do is go fail forward. Learn from it. Role play with your friends. Practice at home. I think that'll make you feel so much more confident. I actually role play with Nick all the time. So role playing is very beneficial, and it makes you feel more comfortable because you know what you're saying. Great question, though. All right. Here, so Heeb's back again with a great question. I have a landlord here who has so many empty houses and pays the city $120,000 in fines alone each year. He asks for over asking on his properties and all are above average days on market, not open to terms. So Suheeb, what I'd like to know really when you're talking to the seller, and you know what you should do, Suheeb, first thing is you should definitely send this to Nick. Send this property to Nick so he can walk you through what you should do, but let's talk about it right now. What I would recommend, what is the motivation for this guy to sell? Is he motivated to sell the property? Like that, guys, when we go through those 4 pillars, that should be something you think of when you're talking to sellers. Are they motivated to sell? If they're motivated, find what their pain is so you can help them. So how can you problem solve for him, Suheeb? Maybe you need to do a little bit more rapport building so you can find a way to really problem solve. If he's not interested in terms, it might just be that he's confused. A confused mind always says no, guys. So the more you're able to storytell and break it down, the more that they're able to understand the benefits to them, the more interested they will be. But Suheeb, 100%. Nick has taught me so much. Nick has helped me a ton when I'm talking to sellers, a ton when I'm comping. You should reach out to Nick. I know how to talk to buyers. Nick is, and I'm pretty good at talking to sellers, but Nick is a closer through and through, and he can really help you identify if they're motivated and what their pain points are. So guys, if you have not texted Nick, have you gotten any text yet? Has Suheeb texted you? Suheeb, you need to text Nick right now. Tell him
I
how
haven't
good.
gotten anything.
Nothing. Nick's always wearing a hat, guys. Tell him how good his hair looks. He's not bald. He's a good-looking man. Get out there and, guys, seriously, Nick is willing to call sellers for you and let you listen to the recording. So work with Nick. He is looking for more JV partners to work with. We want to help you guys close your first deal. So that's a great, great question. There it is. Text him, 480-819-9295. Shoot him a text. All right, let's get in here. So phone number again. Yep, perfect. You got it. Guys, and then the Facebook, just make sure you're hitting that StreamYard link so you can join us. Yeah, Steve just said, always a huge fan of the cold calls. Yeah, so we did our cucumber challenger for a while. We can probably make something a little spicy happen for you guys here in the future. We just need to make sure that this is beneficial to you. So the more you guys leave comments, the more that you say this is a worthwhile live, we can continue doing this. This is just something how we want to give back. Live cold calls with you two would be golden. Yeah, we'll have to make that happen if we can get enough feedback from you guys. So, all right, well, we are wrapping up here. We only have about 10 minutes left in our live. Nick, I'm going to let you pull up batch leads for us, and let's just kind of go over how to find cash buyers in the area. We'll get into that. Here we go. I'm going to pull up a question while we're going. So he's pulling up batch leads. That's okay. What options could you tell a seller not to do an upgrade to bring more value if they plan on relocating from an inheritance property? What options could you tell a seller not to upgrade to bring more value if they plan on relocating from an inheritance property? I guess I don't really understand your question, Omar. Do you understand this, Nick?
Let me see. What options can you tell a seller not to upgrade to bring more value? They're planning on relocating from it. Okay, so his question is, the seller's planning on upgrading their property to bring more value and sell the property retail. I believe that's pretty much what he's saying. So, I mean, the reality of it is, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do, right? You can't necessarily convince them not to do that. All you can do is bring the benefits of why it would be easier just selling to you. You know what I mean? If they're already selling at a discount and they want to do some renovations to it, you know, you just paint the picture of, hey, that wouldn't really exactly, you know, increase the value. Or if you're looking to do that, sell it to me for a little bit more, I'm probably just going to knock it out anyway and redo it because I have a certain style of doing things. So yeah, I mean, it was just painting the picture, right? And you can't convince them not to do it, but just try to paint the picture and have them understand why that's just up to you.
100%. I'm glad you understood that. I was getting a little confused while I was reading it. But now, Nick, let's have you go back over to batch leads here when you're done, and kind of let's talk about how you guys can find cash buyers, just because we're talking about Dispo a little bit today. So really finding cash buyers is, there we go. Perfect. So he's going to go over on the left over there. If you guys follow along with his mouse, he's going to go to list search, and let's just do right here in Tempe. There you go. So we're going to select an area, Tempe, Arizona. You can do whole counties. You can do all kinds of stuff on batch leads, cities, counties, states. Great way to narrow it down. So we're going to go into the filter section here in a moment. And what I'm going to say, awesome, yeah, seller calls. Everybody wants to see seller calls. Well, we need to see enough feedback from you guys. We need, like, first of all, if you guys have not already, you need to like and subscribe to Pace's channel and put in some feedback there that you would love to see Nick do some live seller calls or do a seller call on Facebook. We can definitely make that happen if we get enough feedback. I need, you know, we have quite a few viewers on here, but I'd like to see more. So pump this up, tag somebody, tell them to get in here, set a reminder for next Friday. The more viewers that we have, if we can break over 100 viewers in here when we're doing our live on Friday, I will twist Nick's arm and get him to call a seller for you guys live. But we need to get over 100 viewers on here for that to happen. So let's see here. Great. So Nick, can you kind of walk us through what you're doing?
Yeah, 100%. So I went into the filter section of batch, and I'm actually pulling up absentee owners. So that's one of my filters. The next filter is going to be ownership info. And then under owner type, I like to do either company owned, trust owned, PO box, that's fine too. So just anybody other than just an individual, because we want to go for people who are buying houses under LLC ownership, and that's really the biggest indicator that they're they're an investor and they buy multiple properties. So estimated equity, let's go ahead and do actually percentage. So 100% equity because they are cash buyers. Let's see what we get here.
Perfect. And then Suheeb, while you're on here, Suheeb, I would love for you to shoot out an area where you need a list pulled. You've been asking some awesome questions. You're coming like every week. I've seen your name up here quite a bit. Can you please drop a market that you need to find, you need some records for so we can pull that? Continue on, Nick.
Here's another really, really cool thing. So Batch actually has a cash buyers filter. So whatever list you're pulling, you can pull up a cash buyer filter here. And it's obviously a cash purchase that we want. Ownership types, the same thing, company, PO box, trust owned. And then here's another really cool thing that you can see is number of properties purchased. So you can look for the heavy hitters who are purchasing, let's say 5+ properties here in Tempe, purchase date. So let's say you want to find somebody who bought a property recently, right? So March 2021. So let's go back maybe January. So we want to see people who bought properties this year. So January to, let's see, how do I do that? January to, no. So yeah, so properties since January.
Yeah.
So this is super filtered. So we don't got any results from that. So let's go ahead and clear this out.
Great stuff. So while you're pulling that up, I want to answer another question here. T-Town Supreme says, does Pace's company do Airbnb arbitrage? So I believe Airbnb arbitrage is when you have a rental and then you're renting it out. I think that's what it is. Is that correct, Nick? Do you know?
Yeah, Airbnb arbitrage is basically where you rent out a property from a landlord and then you sublease it on Airbnb.
Perfect.
So you're not actually having to take down the property.
Got it. Yeah, Pace does not do that. Actually, all of his Airbnbs he owns, and he bought those creatively. So like I said, on Wednesday next week, March 10th at 4 o'clock, if you get on his Instagram, you'll see the address for it. It's Sonnet Drive in Glendale. We're going to be there with Pace, Cody, and Matt. And we're going to be answering questions. We're going to talk about how to get your first deal done. We're going to give out some data. We're going to underwrite the property there just so you guys can see it. So come on Wednesday and meet us. But no, he does not do the arbitrage. He actually owns the properties and then turns them into an Airbnb rental. So that Sonnet Drive that we're going to be going to, it's netting $3,000 a month. So like I said, if you guys have not been on that Sunday service, it's actually on Spotify as well. Cody was asking Noah Hoffman. Pace is he's actually a sub-2 student, but he manages Airbnbs. He was asking him about how he does the management. So you guys should definitely check that out before you come over to the Airbnb with us on Wednesday.
So just to kind of go back to the cash buyer list, because I know we have to pull a list for somebody in the group here. So yeah, just Tempe, I filtered it out by corporate ownership and 100% equity on a cash buyer filter. And here are 10,000 results for cash buyers in the city of Tempe. Scrolling down, clicking on some of them. See, we have a holdings company. Holdings company are typically companies that hold assets. You got another LLC, 700 Palm LLC. And then let's see, that's the same one. Yeah, so these all look like cash buyers and trusts. And here's another one. So yeah, a ton of cash buyers on this list, over 10,000 of them filtered out.
Perfect. So we just get a little more granular on that, and then Harold RVA would pull that and skip trace it and then call those cash buyers for us to make sure it's worthwhile. So yeah, great way to find cash buyers is from BatchLeads. So Suheeb, I wanted you to give us an area to pull a list from. That hasn't happened yet. I guess what we'll do is
see if we can bring him up.
Yeah, I'll invite him again. But Suheeb, we'd love you to have you on screen with us. I'm going to drop this in the chat below. Click on that StreamYard link. Join us up here. Let me get into another question here. Ooh, William said he texted you, Nick. Did you get a text from William?
Yeah, I'm actually looking at it right here.
Perfect.
Awesome, William.
Great question. So Anna just asked, do you think Batch has better data than PropStream or about the same? I'd say Batch does have better data than PropStream. Since before I even joined Pace's team, I was using BatchLeads last year when I got started in real estate. It's just I've used other ones. I've used other platforms. I think Batch has the most accurate data. And actually, if you guys use the code PACE when you're on BatchLeads, I think it gives you maybe 500 texts. Obviously, we don't get paid from BatchLeads. I don't know all of the information about it, but use code PACE. It's all capitals, PACE, and you get some sort of discount. I think it might be 500 texts, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, I love using BatchLeads. And a perk to using BatchLeads, if you skip trace a list, so say that we pulled this list in Tempe and we skip traced it. And then we pulled a list over, 5 months later, we pull another list and we're just trying to get different buyers. And for some reason, it pulls up Nick Newling twice. It won't actually charge for the second time of skip tracing Nick Newling. It'll know, it's smart enough to know, hey, you've already skip traced Nick Newling. You already have this data, whereas other platforms don't do that. So that's a really nice perk for BatchLeads. I would 100% recommend everybody using BatchLeads. It's just nice having BatchLeads and Batch Driven together. They're pretty interchangeable. And like Nick was saying, on that Batch Driven app, you can actually text directly from it. When I was out on my own, again, before I got hired, I had messed around with Deal Machine for a little bit. I wasn't the biggest fan. I switched over to BatchLeads just because I could actually label properties and be like, this is a hot lead. This is a motivated seller. Like, follow up with them. You can take photos of it and upload it in there. I didn't really love Deal Machine myself. So I like Batch Driven and I like BatchLeads. Perfect. So we have a question. How do you pull a list from Batch to skip trace? So Nick, let's get into it. We have not heard from Suheeb. So what I'm going to do is just say, let's pull a list in Anna. Anna, I would love for you to tell us, you are asking great questions. Anna, what area would you like us to pull a list from? And we're going to watch Nick pull this list all the way through. Now, there is one thing when we pull the list and we start to skip trace it, it does take a little bit of time. I'd say, how long do you think it takes to skip trace a list, Nick? It can vary, maybe.
Yeah, it varies on the size of the list, but I would say on average like 24, 48 hours tops.
And they're pulling a ton of numbers. So I think sometimes we can get up to 8 phone numbers. The first 3 to the first 5 are going to be your best and most accurate numbers to call. Tons of information on there. So Tanner, we'd love to pull a list in an area that you have chosen. I want to pull a list for you guys today, and I want Nick to show you guys how it's done. And then let's see, how do you pull a list to an Excel file? I'm not familiar with an Excel file. Are you, Nick?
No.
No, me either. The way that we use it is
probably something from the title company, I would imagine.
Could be, yeah. And then I don't know, this is another great question. What is the code for Batch Driven? I don't know if there is a code for Batch Driven. I would recommend getting on at 4:30 to talk to Bryce. Bryce is the Batch Driven king. He knows all kinds of information about Batch Driven. He's live every day on this channel at 4:30. Or it might be on the Batch Driven channel. So look between this one or Batch Driven, but Bryce Herrera. And you guys can actually message him it's going to be at Batch Driven app. If you guys get on Instagram and use this, go to Batch Driven app, the user page, and you can actually, Bryce is right now driving for dollars. He was on live earlier with Matt Beard. Go on there and ask him. He'll actually take people along for drive-alongs when he's driving for dollars. So it's a great opportunity. There you go. So batchdriven.com/990. Well, all right, Nick. Anna didn't answer. Our other guy didn't answer. Let's just pull a list. Let's just pull a list right here that we can use in Arizona, and we'll just give it out to a few people today. Let's pull a list here. So let's do Chandler. Pull a list in Chandler.
Let's do it.
Here we go. They're correcting themselves. An Excel file. So you're going to want to, we'll go over that. We can talk about it. It's a CSV is the way that you're going to want to export it. Or you're going to download it. If you were not doing it, so say you're using PropStream, pull that list from PropStream, turn it into a CSV file. You'll just go into the settings on that and then upload it into BatchLeads if you don't have a BatchLeads account. But if you're within BatchLeads, you can actually pull the list from BatchLeads. And then when you're pulling that list, you can actually skip trace it within BatchLeads, and Nick will cover that. Perfect. So he's going to pull that up. Sweet.
Okay, let's do absentee out of state. Any status. Let's do property characteristics, property types. We want to go after single family, townhouses, condos, and mobile. We love mobile. Okay, that's pretty much it. Close that up. MLS status. We want off market. Nothing about pre-foreclosure. Ownership info. Individual. Let's see, that's all fine. Valuation. So let's do estimated value of 650,000 max. Estimated equity to 20% minimum.
Perfect. I'm going to let you continue on. There's a great question here. Do you have to export from Batch Driven to import to BatchLeads, or is there an easier way to do it? You can actually skip trace directly from Batch Driven app, correct, Nick?
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. And I'm pretty sure it's all interchangeable. And you know what, Nick? Here's a great thing that Liz just said, and I'm going to go off of this. This is a great idea, Liz. Next week, make it a challenge. Whoever gets the most new viewers on this live wins a pulled list. We can have our viewers say, Liz Eichner sent me. Good idea. I love it. So for next week, I'm going to take the reins and steal what we're only allowed to do 2,000 records. I'm going to say we're going to give out a list of 3,000 records next week. Don't tell Pace, guys. Don't tell Pace that I'm saying this, but whoever can get the most viewers in here and they say, hey, you know, Caroline told me to come in here, we will pull a record for you guys for 3,000 leads. 3,000 leads. We're going to do that and we will email it to you. So whoever can get the most new viewers in here, if we can break over, you know, I'm going to make it even higher. 120, we'll pull 3,000 records for you guys that you can skip trace and you can call them. And you know what? I'll pimp Nick out even more. You guys can get him to help you close those leads. We will help you guys close those sellers if you need it. We can do all kinds of stuff for you guys.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just to highlight again my filters, we're searching in Chandler, absentee out of state, vacancy status, any status. We're going after single family, townhomes, condominium units, mobile homes. These are all going to be off market properties, company owned, individual, trust owned as well. So it can be, most likely these are going to be rentals. Estimated value, $0 to $650,000. And then a minimum of 20% equity. So this is a super, super refined list. And out of that, we have 169 results. So what we're going to do now is just go ahead and select property and then select all. And then the last thing we're going to do is just select add. And then you can create all these separate lists so you can keep your data nice and organized. So let's see, I will do, I think we have a filter on here yet.
Right, it should be Fridays.
Yeah, I think that's just the tag. So we'll just go ahead and create a new list.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, and then tag. Let's see. I think we do have a tag actually for this one. Right here. Awesome. So I don't think it's going to let me do the symbol.
That's all right. Anna Taylor, I see your message here. Shoot me a message on Instagram. So if you guys see under our faces, you can see our Instagram handle. Mine is Carol the Ginga, Ginga. I made this in high school, guys, so don't hate on me. But anyways, shoot me a message and let's make sure that we get your list. I forgot that we pulled you a list. I've been doing so many things. But let's make sure that list gets to you. I thought we got everybody sent out. So I want to make sure that gets taken care of. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So once you go to an add and you save the property, you got 169 properties saved. And then once it's all uploaded, it's going to show up here under properties. So that's how you do it.
Oh, yeah. And then if you guys did not see that, BatchLeads, I think, is giving out 250,000 records or something like that. I just got an email for it yesterday. I didn't read it. So sign up for BatchLeads. They're doing a ton of giveaways. Anyways, what we are going to do, who did we say we're sending that list to? Oh, we're going to give that list to a bunch of people. So if you guys want the list for Chandler, shoot Nick and I DMs on Instagram. Let's shoot it to Nick just because he pulled that. Shoot him a DM with your email, and we're going to send you data in the Phoenix area. And guess what? If you guys talk to that seller and they're interested in closing, or if they're interested in selling, we'll help close that deal. and we will actually buy that deal from you. We are looking for fix and flip properties anywhere in the Phoenix area. We need more fix and flips. So we'd love to show you how it's done, help you out where we can. Nick, is there anything to cover that we haven't yet?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm more curious to see what people want to see in the weeks to come, right? A lot of people haven't given us feedback, and this show is helping them out. Super glad to do it. Super glad to talk to sellers and close deals. And we're just happy to help. And we're grateful to have a community like you guys who are, you know, just willing to learn and willing to ask questions, and together we all grow together. But mainly, yeah, I just wanted to see what everybody wants to hear from us next week.
Perfect. So if you guys can, if you're not already, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to share my screen here. Let's do this. Let's go to home. I want to do one more thing for you guys. Let's get this, take this away. There we go. So I'm going to share my screen. If you guys have not already, share screen. Let's go to, here it is. If you guys are not on this creative financing with Pace Morby page, get in here, request, shoot me a message, get on here. I'm going to create a poll later. Look at this. Here's this is actually what Pace posted. He's going to do a challenge, but get in here, give us some feedback. Say hashtag Friday live. I want to talk about comping, and then tag me. Say Caroline Kane is my Facebook name, and tag Nick. If we can see what you guys want to do on here, post it. We'll see this. We'll come in here and comment on it, and then we'll know what you guys want to talk about next week. So Liz, I want to see what you can do. Liz, comment on there. Everybody, if you guys can comment on here and tell us what you want us to talk about, make sure you join that Facebook page. We are on there all the time. We will see what you guys want, and we will make sure that we can specifically talk about that topic. So message what the goals are for the end of today. Go to our Instagram handles. You can see this in the subscription or the description below. Send Nick and I a message saying, hey, I would like to get that list for Chandler. We'll shoot it out to you. We'll send you even more data for the Phoenix area. We'll help you close those deals. We'll buy the deals from you. Anna Tanner, I need you to definitely message me so we can make sure that you get taken care of on your list. Dude, I appreciate each and every one of you guys coming onto our live today. We're going to go meet up with Pace. We're probably going to talk about some deals that we're fixing and flipping. On Wednesday, we will see you at our meetup over in Glendale, our Sonnet Airbnb. We're going to talk about all the numbers. We're going to underwrite it. We're going to help you guys talk to sellers. Actually, Nick, last time, I believe at a meetup, you were calling sellers for people that came to the meetup, correct?
Yeah, live. I had somebody come up and they're like, hey, I have a seller that I need help closing. And without hesitation, because we actually do deals and we practice what we preach, I went into the back room and called the seller.
Perfect.
So yeah, we're always going to be doing that. That's just the kind of value that we provide you guys.
Perfect. Yeah, guys, we want to help you. Karma is real. We believe in it. We are all about helping everybody get their first deal done. We want to cut down that time. What was it for you, Nick? 18 months for your first deal?
18 months to make my first dollar.
To make his first deal. We want to get you guys done in like 2 months max. Let's get you guys locking up some deals. It's all about taking action, being consistent in your action taking, make mistakes to learn from those, and come back and tell us about it on Friday. So if you haven't joined that Facebook page, join that Facebook page, interact with us. Whoever gets the most people to join the live next week, we'll pull a 3,000 list record for you next Friday. So tag everybody, tag us on the creative page. We will see you guys then. Thank you so much. Hey, also shoot Nick some text messages. You guys can see that phone number in here. I want to FaceTime with you guys on Nick's phone. Bye, guys.
See you guys.